Hi friends, welcome to SNCA Study Club, a platform for CA final students. Hello my dears, moving towards the question 3. A nationalized bank received an application from an export company seeking sanction of a term loan to expand the existing seafood pressing plant. In this condition, the general manager who is in charge advances approach you to conduct a thorough investigation of this limited company and submit a confidential report based on which he will decide whether to sanction this loan or not. List out the points you will cover in your investigations before submitting your report to the general manager. So here one company is making an application the bank for the purpose of giving a loan. So the bank is appointing an investigating officer and they are requesting them, not requesting, they are requiring that officer or investigating accountant to conduct an investigation and thereafter submit a report on the basis of which the bank will provide what loan. So what should be the areas on the basis of which they can provide loan, that we are going to discuss now. So the bank is mainly interested to know the purpose for which the loan is granting. Suppose if they are granting the loan, how can they make the use of the loan, plus scheduled repayment, that is will they make the repayment of the loan. If they are making the repayment, whether cash is available to them, whether they have appropriate fund to make the repayment of the loan. Then they can also examine, that is investigating accountant is also required to examine the memorandum of association and articles of association to determine whether they are authorizing the company for obtaining the loan. Plus they should also obtain an understanding with respect of history and growth of the concerned company, plus financial status and reputation. That is investigating accountant should be able to understand all with respect of this also, that is what is their financial standing, with their reputation, with their financial status, etc. Then economic position. Now what is the economic position, whether any changes is possible to this economic position because of any political industrial changes. So these has to be, that is basically they have to understand this, plus specifically they should perform the following aspects, that is investigators should prepare a condensed income statement. What is the meaning of this condensed income statement? That is they have to make an analysis on the financial statements, especially the profit and loss account and balance sheet of 5-year or 6-year prior to the date of application to the loan. On the basis of that profit and loss account, they should prepare a condensed income statement, that is mainly for the purpose of understanding their trend of profitability or their pattern, extra. Plus they should also require to compute different ratios: current asset to current liability, quick asset to quick liability, return on investment, that is if they are making any investment, what is the expected return or what is the return that is provided by the concerned company. Then sales side to fixed asset ratio, sales side to equity ratio, sales side to book debt ratio. Then what? Fixed asset to current asset ratio, plus what? These are enough. I think these are enough. So they have to prepare all these ratios for the purpose of understanding correct position, the liquidity position, plus the total net own fund of the company. Plus they should also examine fixed asset. That is investigating accountant shall examine the register for the purpose of obtaining an understanding with respect of the gross value of fixed asset plus depreciation, total depreciation that they are provided, or whether they are providing depreciation correctly, or because of charging over depreciation, whether it is reducing the profit or whether they are providing low rate of depreciation. Plus determine whether there exists any fixed asset on the basis of which they had taken any loan, that is whether this fixed asset is secured against any loan, whether any charge is existing on that fixed asset, or whether this fixed asset is mortgaged, chances of revaluation. With respect of this fixed asset, they have to determine this, that is they have to make an analysis on the balance sheet item, right friends? That is overall understanding ratio, then understanding the balance sheet, that is specifically each and every item have to be evaluated. Then they should analyze inventory. They have to make a classification, or they have to, that is investigating accountant have to examine this inventory under each separate description, that is as work in progress, raw material, finished goods. Then determine valuation, whether it is as per AS2, whether there exist any changes, whether these changes is as per the requirements or to meet the requirements of any law or regulation, what are the effect of that changes. Plus also required to determine whether there exists any charge against the inventory, or whether any liabilities existing against this inventory. Then receivables, that is investigating accountant on behalf of the bank is also required to make an analysis on the receivable, that is whether appropriate provision is created for bad and doubtful debt. Total amount shown as receivable, how much bad debt has been shown. Then debt due but period of credit is not expired, debt due, that will be due within a period of 6 months, debt due but not recovered. Plus they should also determine whether there exist any intercompany owings, or whether there exists any amount that is to be received by the concerned company from its own employees or staff. So first of all, the bank is required to obtain what? A general understanding. So investigating accountant should obtain an understanding with respect of all these factors. In additionally, they should make an analysis on the balance sheet. We have now discussed what? Fixed asset, inventory, receivable. The next is what? Investment. Then the investigating accountant shall also examine the total investment. They can examine the register through which they can understand what? The cost of investment, interest rate, due date of interest, whether they are receiving interest on due date, market value of investment. Plus also required to determine whether these investment has been provided as a security against any loan, that is whether they have provided this investment as a security against any loan. Then next balance sheet, plus the asset side of the balance sheet also include what? Current asset, that is it can be other what? Liquid asset. The investigating accountant on behalf of the bank is also required to examine the liquidity position, that is can this company easily convert these liquid asset into cash, how they are collecting the amount, or how they are collecting the amount of the account receivable, how they are converting the finished goods into cash, how much of liquidity. This has to be determined by whom? Investigating accountant on behalf of the bank. Plus the next is what? Liability side of the balance sheet. Secured loan. Secured loan include debentures and other loan. So investigating accountant have to prepare what? A separate schedule, or these have to be shown in separate schedule. They have to determine the total interest, scheduled repayment, whether any delay has been committed by the company in making the repayment, any default is made by the company in making the repayment. Plus also required to determine whether any asset has been pledged or provided as a security against the secured loan. Which are the asset? Okay. Next is what? Other liability. They have to determine other liability. They have to make a age-wise classification. This facilitate them to understand which are current liability, which are long-term liability or non-current liability, right? Plus they have to also disclose about what? Contingent liability, and determine whether concerned company has made any default with respect of repayment of account payable, short-term loan, bank OD, etc. Then what? Insurance. Investigating accountant have to determine the total insurance policy that has been taken by the company. Details of the policy have to be examined, plus risk that has been covered by the policy, premium required to be paid, date in which the last date in which the premium has been paid, maturity date, and also required to determine whether this insurance policy is appropriate. So these are the points that you have to be included while answering to question number 3. This is mainly asking what are the factors that is to be considered by an investigating accountant where he is undertaking an investigation on behalf of bank, where bank has received an application from the client for a loan. So first of all, investigating accountant on behalf of the bank have to understand general information, purpose of loan. If they grant loan, how can make the repayment, how will they make the application of this loan, schedule of repayment, whether they have cash availability or sources to make the repayment, then what, whether their memorandum of association, articles of association permitting them to obtain loan from the bank, then what, financial status and reputation of company and concerned directors have to be obtained, plus their history, growth rate, economic position. Then we studied that they have to prepare, investigating accountant on behalf of the bank have to prepare a condensed income statement on the basis of the profit and loss account of previous 5 to 6 years, that facilitate them to prepare certain ratios, fixed asset to current asset to current liability, quick asset to quick liability, return on equity, sales to fixed asset, like sales to book debt, and what, equity to fixed asset, sales to equity, etc. So these facilitate to determine the financial position of the concerned organization, and they also facilitate to determine the operational profit. Then fixed asset, they have to examine the fixed asset register, gross value added, that is the gross value of fixed asset, total cost of the fixed asset, rate of depreciation, any chances of revaluation, whether this fixed asset has been charged, any charge is applicable to fixed asset, or these fixed assets has been secured against any loan. Inventory. Next is inventory. Proper classification of inventory, accounting policy, whether this inventory has been secured to obtain any loan. Then third, receivables, proper classification of receivable, whether provision is created for bad and doubtful debt, how much of total receivable, what is the amount of bad debt. Then debt that will be due within a period of 6 months, debt due but not recovered. Then what, then the last thing is that whether this company has provided any or have to receive any amount from its own associate companies or inter companies, that is subsidiary, associate, extra. Then whether they have they have to receive any amount from its own staffs, employees, extra. Then other current asset, investment, value, register, market value, cost, interest rate, due date of receipt of interest, whether it has been secured against any loan, secured loan, proper classification, default in repayment, interest rate, whether they are making the payment of interest, which are the asset on the basis of which they obtained the loan, that is which are the asset which has been secured against this loan. Other liability including contingent liability have to be disclosed. Investigating accountant have to examine this, plus insurance, investigating accountant have to determine the insurance policy taken, risk covered, premium amount, maturity date, and whether this insurance policy is appropriate or not. If these, or after making a verification or inspection or making an examination of all these or assessment of all these, if investigating accountant is the report have to be submitted to the bank. Bank on the basis of that report will determine whether they should grant loan to the concerned company or not. This is the answer. I hope you have understood. So first of all, you should understand the question. Here listen this lecture and thereafter go to practice manual. You can easily catch, okay friends, or you can easily crack the answer.